Fit for Life Radio, episode number 145. Your hosts, Gary
and Will.
And today we are talking about weight gain by the decade. So we have a study here through a report issue in the Precision Nutrition Academy research report. And this is on a study done by Brigham Young University.
BYU.
Research, a study of 13,800 Americans. Okay.
That's a pretty good sample size.
And really it's basically looking at weight gain in Americans and through the decades.
Like as you get older?
Yep, as we get older and what that looks like. So yeah, it's pretty interesting. We figured we would share it with you.
Let's dive into it.
So of those, 13,800 Americans, the scientists report that over 50% of the participants gained at least 5% in body weight during the previous 10 years. 35% gained 10% or more, and 16% gained 20% or more. All right, so it was over 10 years. They had people from different age groups, obviously, to see like through the different decades. And yeah, over half of the people essentially gained weight over the decades, and some of them a lot of weight, right? And then the problem is if you're gaining weight every decade, you're gaining a lot of weight, which we'll get to.
And it stacks.
But yeah, not surprising, right? Everyone knows like now 70% of people are overweight. And I think it's like, is it like 30 or 40?
It's got to be close to
40%
for obesity.
Now, what a lot of people don't realize, and I guess the outcome of the study that they thought was interesting was, and to us, it really wasn't, because, which we'll get to the conclusions, and we kind of understand that. So, but yeah, to most people, it's going to seem maybe shocking, but also, if you've experienced it, it probably won't be that shocking. But essentially, the decade where the most weight gain happens is in the 20s and 30s. So when you're younger. So essentially, we gain more weight when we're younger. But the reality is, it's like kind of anything else. You're able to in the beginning because you have more room,
yeah.
Right? Just like you grow taller when you're younger, and eventually diminishing returns. So the reality is most people hit their 20s, get a job, life stressors start to hit with structure, priorities, all that, exercise and paying attention to our eating.
Just take a hit.
Takes a hit.
Your activity level goes down generally.
We start consuming more than we need, right? So then the weight gain starts. So yeah, the 20s and 30s. So, and I think a key thing to take away from this, and this is what we've seen too in the real world with the gym and working with clients, is the sooner you can get started on prioritizing exercise and eating, the way better chance you have, because you can prevent that major weight gain, where a lot of people start to address it like in their 40s. But yeah, you just had the decades where you did gain the most weight, and it's going to be more challenging to change your habits because they're more ingrained, and you have more weight to try to lose. So with the study, on average, people gained the average weight gain by decade in the U.S. In the 20s, it's 17 pounds.
Whew.
In the 30s, 14. In the 40s, 9.5. So basically 10. In the 50s, 4.5. And then 60s to 70s, like 0.7. So overall, the average American weight gain is 46 pounds over the course of adulthood.
And really, if we're looking like between your 20s, 20s and 40s?
Basically from 20 to 40, it's
30 pounds?
17.6 plus 14.3.
Yeah. So a little bit over 30 pounds in 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
So that
in 20 years.
Or 20 years.
Yeah.
So that's, if we look at it on averages, what's that, a pound and a half a year? Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah.
which isn't a lot.
I know, exactly. And then when people think about losing a pound even a month, people would be like, oh my gosh,
that's too slow.
Yeah, and that's one of the biggest hang-ups we run into is people's expectation of weight loss. When
It's
the reality is, like, weight gain doesn't really happen overnight either.
Nah, like you're not gaining 6 pounds a month. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
It doesn't happen that way. But yeah. So yeah, use that in your framing. If you're gaining 1.5 pounds a year over 20 years, that's 30 pounds, and you can't expect to lose that in 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't work that way. I wish we did. I wish it did, but it doesn't.
Yep.
So.
And remember, this is also talking about gaining body fat, right? So a lot of the fluctuations you see are in the short term are other things. So when we want to lose weight, we want to lose body fat, right? So just like body fat doesn't get gained super, super fast, which is easier to do still, the losing obviously should take a little longer. But the reality is you can still lose at a decent clip if you have things lined up. So also with this, over the course of the 10 years, women gain significantly more weight than men. And the scientists attributed this to pregnancy. So ultimately, each birth is associated with increased weight gain.
That makes sense overall.
Yeah. And things are coming around on that. It used to be the message when women were pregnant was you're eating for 2.
Yeah.
So have at it, right? So people would.
And it was just a free-for-all.
And then you have 9 months essentially of doing that. So you obviously establish new habits. But the reality is we probably overdid it.
Yeah.
And they reframe it now to
what's the recommendation now?
It's more. So the recommendation is an extra just 300 to 500 calories a day.
Yeah.
Is all you need. And then the kind of more general is like not eating for 2. It's like eating more nutrition for, it's trying to like shy away.
Maximize your nutrition instead of
just
eat this giant quantity of food.
Yeah. And in general, if someone's of healthy weight pre-pregnancy, they'll like 30 pounds or so, 25, 30 pounds is what's ideal or expected of weight gain. If someone's overweight pre-pregnancy, probably only like 15 to 20, 25 pounds.
Yeah.
So somewhere around there. Anything beyond that's just extra body fat.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see here. So that was one of the main significant things of note. There's some different demographical things as well. So typically, women gain more than men. Black women experience the highest average weight gain. Asian men experience the lowest average weight gain. And yeah, with the study, it was pretty good that they did kind of like the starting and like current body weights, ending body weights in a lab. But some of the body weights throughout were self-reported. So what people would recall from years before and decades before and things like that. But it was still enough people.
Yeah, on that grand scale that I think that ends up averaging out pretty well.
So, yeah. What are the takeaways, right? So with it, not surprising, people know, hey, Americans are gaining weight. Hey, we gain weight as in adulthood as we age.
If you know me, you know I'm always on the run, up early and home late. So having a 3-hour morning routine isn't really in the cards for me. What is in the cards is AG1. It's a fast way to get vitamins and minerals I need to perform. I first gave AG1 a try because I wanted a single solution that helps support my entire body by filling in nutrient gaps and simplifying my morning routine. Since drinking AG1 daily, I've always felt strong and energized and ready to attack the day. Not only does AG1 deliver my daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre- and probiotics, and more, it's a powerful, healthy habit that's also powerfully simple. It's 1 scoop mixed in water once a day and every day. I know that AG1 is giving my body high-quality nutrition. Every batch of AG1 goes through a rigorous testing process, so you know that it's safe. And AG1 ingredients are sourced for absorption, potency, and nutrition density. AG1 is a supplement that I trust to provide the support my body needs daily, and that's why I'm excited to welcome them as a new partner. Here is your chance to start every day this season with a gift to yourself. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase exclusively at drinkag1.com/provengrit. That's drinkag1.com/provengrit. Check it out.
For some people, it may be a surprise. Majority of the weight gain comes when we're younger, in our 20s and 30s. So, like we alluded to earlier, a good trend is, hey, like bring attention and awareness to this stuff sooner.
And
you have a lot better
early.
chance. Another thing is, so weight gain obviously slows over time. Why is this? It's likely because your metabolism increases when you gain weight, right?
Yeah.
And this is the opposite of what most people want to hear. They think they're gaining weight because they have a slow metabolism. But the reality is when you have more body mass, it actually increases.
It takes more calories to maintain more mass.
Yeah, so as we get larger, the rate of gain slows down because our metabolism actually increases, right? You would almost need to keep doubling and tripling your food intake to keep the same rate going as you get larger and larger.
Yeah. So yeah, generally when you gain weight, it's not because your metabolism is slow.
Yeah.
It's just not
It's
what it is.
It's because you're just still over-consuming calories. And then you actually have to keep consuming at a pretty high rate
to continue to gain.
So, so that's why it typically slows down. It's just diminishing returns, right? So if you're eating the same, the rate slows down because your metabolism gets higher. A lot of people don't want to accept that, but in general, that's what's happening.
Yeah, that's a tough one to stomach.
And then another thing is, now it's interesting because this is happening. This is increasing. People are increasingly gaining weight more frequently, a bigger subset of the population, in a time when we have more information and desire
and readily available information
than before. Meaning, like, more people now know about exercise and healthy eating than before. People want to do it. The weight loss industry is huge. There's products. There's a demand, but yet people are still gaining weight more and more.
Yeah, like we're still going up.
So what's the disconnect? The disconnect is in the action.
Yeah, people need help taking action in some way, like having a coach.
Yep. Yeah, for most people, like we said, the disconnect is in not the knowing, but in the acting.
It's doing.
So if you struggle to do that on your own, you need support, which for a lot of people could be a coach, right? Which we've seen, in the fitness industry over the years. It used to think, like a trainer knows a magic workout, or, you have the information. But the reality is, like, no, people can get all that stuff for cheap. You can go do any workout. You can download it all. There are a million of them. You can go to Planet Fitness for $10 a month, right? And execute all this stuff, but people simply aren't doing it, right? So the real value of the coach is the support and the accountability.
Yeah.
And that's what people need, right? It's to be able to show up. It's to be able to execute these things. It's to be able to navigate the peaks and valleys, and when they're motivated and when they're not. That is the solution.
Yeah. And don't be it's it's a form of asking for help with something, or like hiring someone to do something maybe you don't want to put all of the effort into figuring out to get an outcome still. So you're cutting out a lot of back end work on figuring out how to put together a training program and showing up on your own and all of these things, whereas if you just hire somebody and you're accountable to them, then you are going to show up more likely.
And it's hard because it comes down to priorities, So like we said, the older we get, the more other life responsibilities we have. So therefore our priority list has more options, right? So typically us, because what we're talking about, taking care of, our health and fitness is us,
Mm-hmm.
we typically deprioritize ourselves as these other things.
Yeah. You know, like you have a busy job
Mhm.
and you have a house that you own now and you have kids. And for
Yep.
a lot of people, understandably, they put their kids before themselves. And then they continue to go farther and farther down on that priority list until, you know, you're 45 and you're like, man, I'm 40 pounds overweight.
Yep.
What happened?
Yeah. And the issue, obviously, as we know, with significant weight gain, which, like we see, average is 30 pounds in those 20 years, like that's significant. That's going to increase your risks for a lot of things.
Yeah.
Heart disease, diabetes. I mean, all the top issues, and even little stuff that I think people overlook, like inflammation, why your knees hurt, why your ankles hurt, energy, right? If I had to throw on a 30-pound pack throughout my entire day,
Yeah, sleep in it, get up in it.
it's gonna wear me out more, right? My energy is gonna be lower, and like those are things people want to experience, right? One of the common things when we sit down with people is, I want more energy, and I wish my knee would stop hurting. The reality is, eliminating, losing weight could fix both those problems,
Yeah.
or not, they can have make a very big difference. So, those are all reasons why we should want to prioritize those things. And now if we have more energy, less pain, aches and pains, that's stuff we can channel to our other responsibilities now. So now we're actually better able to care for these other things.
Yeah. And it usually snowballs, as you start to feel better. It makes a lot of things easier to do. It makes going to the gym and making that a priority easier, playing with your kids, and maybe wanting to do more with your family, whatever it may be. It just makes a lot of things easier over time as you start to feel the difference.
Yeah. So the big takeaway again is, the average American is gaining 40 pounds in adulthood. Majority of that, almost like 2/3, 3/4,
In your 20s, man.
comes in your 20s and 30s. Side note is, hey, gaining 40 pounds typically happens at a rate of like 1.5 to 2 pounds a year, right? And so losing weight, losing body fat, you have to frame it right. Stop trying to lose like 18 pounds in 3 weeks.
Yeah, it's just not going to happen. I mean, gold standard, like if you're doing everything right
it's
and
like
you're killing it.
1 to 2 pounds a week.
Yeah.
Right?
We could even say 1 pound a week. That's 50 pounds a year.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes people feel like that's not fast enough.
Yep.
Which it is fast
and then
enough.
don't do anything, right? So, but ultimately we know, hey, this is happening. It does slow down as we age, but then everything gets harder because our habits that aren't helping are more set in stone.
And just keeps us in that place.
Things like that, right? But it can be done. Again, unfortunately, people have access to more information, more knowledge about this stuff than ever before, but we're still gaining faster than ever. So for most people, the difference is accountability.
Mm-hmm.
You have to, towards taking action. It's not in the knowing, it's in the doing. It's not.
You could research as
Yes.
much as you want, but if you don't take a step, you're getting nowhere.
Yeah, we even see now, we're doing a little challenge in our Facebook group, Fat Loss Secrets for Busy Adults, and we had a client recently, and she knows a lot, right? And she would kind of like try to take what we're asking them to do and like put her own spin and tweaks and until she was just like, she realized, I'm just going to get out of my own way and just literally do the stuff we were giving her, and then all of a sudden just linear, almost consistent weight loss, and she's like, oh my gosh, this is working. All I had to do was get out of my own way, right? And be so, having a coach gives you the accountability, helps streamline. There is so much information. Some of it can be contradictory.
Yeah, no, it can be
overwhelming, right? So then you're changing things all the time. And
sometimes you have wrong information as well.
Yeah.
And maybe it's the understanding where you completely misunderstand the way something works. And I don't know what, that person was getting in their own way about, but it might have been misunderstanding something nutrition-wise that they thought they knew that was hindering them.
Yeah.
So that's another thing is that someone that's a professional. Like, we do this for a living, and we live it, and we don't know everything by any means, but we have a very good idea of a lot of foundational stuff and have a good structure on how to do this stuff. So it just helps to really sort through the BS when you have somebody telling you, do this.
And also know that, like, gaining weight as we age is not, like, that's not aging. Like, it's not a part of aging.
No.
Right? We should, in general, maintain an adult weight throughout our adulthood, right? Now, this doesn't mean, like, there's one specific weight that you have to be. It doesn't mean that there's maybe seasons, where we
a couple
drift
pounds
or whatever.
here and there.
But the reality is there should be a 10-pound range that's known for a healthy body weight for certain height and frame. And you should kind of be able to stay in that range over the course of adulthood, right? That would be an optimal scenario. So, that is a reality. That is a place you can be. And so now, again, armed with this information, ideally, in your 20s and 30s, prioritize this stuff, make it happen, get accountability, get coaching. If you're at a point where you have, 20 to 40 pounds you want to lose, you can do it. It's not going to be easy. It's going to take consistency. It's going to take resiliency, but knock that off, develop the habits to maintain it, and then boom, then give yourself that 10-pound range and move forward with those habits, knowing that you're in control and not having to be a statistic.
Yeah.
All right. Well, let us know what you learned. Hit us up on the socials.
The gram.
If you're interested, the Facebook group is free. We have a link in the info section for the podcast. You can also find it on Facebook, Fat Loss Secrets for Busy Adults. And we got a great group community in there.
Yeah.
People ask questions. We do weekly live trainings, Q&As, free resources, guides.
Challenge going on right now. I'm sure we'll do another one at some point this year. So
so check it out.
Come on in.
All right. We'll catch you guys next week.
See ya. As always, thanks for listening, guys. If you want to learn more, check us out at coastalfitnessva.com or GaryDeagle.com. We'll see you next time.